so that everybody knows kind of the way this is going to go today is we're going to introduce our sponsor first. Then I'll do a nice little kind of just to get to know Rolando because he's such an interesting person interview. And then when I'm through interviewing him, I'm going to open it up to our guest attendees and work around the room and get to visit as many as I can so that they can say hi to Rolando if they have a question for him or question for the group, because a lot of our members would like to meet each other. And I want to encourage every single person in the chat, go ahead and throw your LinkedIn address in there if you want people to be able to reach you, because we have such a diverse group of, you know, the cinema exhibitors themselves, we have the studios, and we have all of our service related companies. And as I like to say, or as I said to Mark Cuban, we have a lot of fringe and our worlds are beginning to collide with other worlds. So we have a lot of interesting people that may have not normally thought that they were part of exhibition that are part of exhibition now because they choose to be. So I'm going to wait about just like 2 more minutes and then we'll introduce Hat. That way we can just keep moving people in. Because, you know, our sponsor is kind of important. Make sure you guys mute yourself when you come in so that there's not outside outside noise. Except for you, Rolando. Don't mute yourself. Okay.
Rolando, what are your posters? I'm always curious about people's posters now that we're Zoom live.
It's really interesting. So I got 2 posters in my office and they're both kind of jokes. One is from both in fact are from Paramount. One, it says the Exhibinator, and it's a picture of me, you know, playing the Terminator. And then the other one is Top Gun, which by the way happens to be my favorite movie. I'm looking forward to Top Gun 2. And that also has a picture of me that they gave it to me during the Variety award ceremony 2 years ago. So call them jokes, and then I keep it fun in the office.
I love it.
How many pairs of aviators do you own? You gonna be rocking them at CinemaCon?
You know, I hope I don't have to use too many of those, but I do have some.
Oh, right on. Okay, so it looks about time to start doing our nice introduction. So welcome everybody to the Women in Exhibition Speaker Series with our amazing guest, Mr. Rolando Rodriguez, who is the CEO of Marcus Theaters with a bazillion other titles and the president of NATO. I want to introduce our awesome sponsor of today, and it's Influx, which is a fabulous company that has multiple industries they work in, but they do have a special focus for cinema. And one of the beautiful things about our sponsor is when I first kind of had this idea in my head with Bernadette and I were kind of chatting about organizing a group to create Women in Exhibition, Hat was the first male that I spoke to, and I kind of told him my idea and had just a couple of women that I'd already spoken to that agreed, and Hat right off the bat said, I will design your website for you. So he's been a big supporter for Women in Exhibition when we were just a thought. And so without further ado, I'd like to, Harish, who we call Hat, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about Influx, about what you do, and then about your relationship to Marcus, which is fabulous. And then we will go with Rolando.
Perfect. I won't take too much time, but first of all, thank you to Ann Stadler for letting me use her room, because otherwise I would have had nowhere to go. So thanks, Ann. I mean, just the idea of supporting 2 things that are so close to my heart, women and cinema, was obviously very, very endearing and exciting. And therefore, you know, I remember it was at CinemaCon. It was at the Alto Bar in 2019 when we were having that chat. And, you know, when a woman who's like this high, this broad tells you, I'm starting an initiative, are you going to help me? And I'm like, yeah. No, jokes aside, I mean, very excited to do it. And I don't think we've done full justice, I think, to what we could be doing with that website, to be honest. But we're fully committed to, of course, you know, keep doing it. Fully committed to the cause. At Influx, it's a company that we've been around for a while. We are best known for supplying single malt and bourbon whiskey at CinemaCon this year. But that aside, we also build technology solutions, guest-facing technology solutions for cinemas. Our most exciting new products that we're very keen to show off at CinemaCon is actually our intake food and beverage microsite, which is an add-on to any exhibitor's existing website or app by which you can have online ordering in literally under 3 weeks. We also have a private cinema product, which is, enables you to sell private screenings and get creative and have like a host module and have a host create groups and invite groups. So it's our private cinema product, our F&B product, and of course our flagship products, which are our websites, apps, and kiosks, are also going to be at CinemaCon. And we don't have a booth this year because I believe this year is going to be a very social CinemaCon. I think people are going to want to sit down, talk, just reconnect, like Rolando said, just see each other in 3D and not necessarily tout your wares at a stall. I don't think that's going to be the name of the game at CinemaCon. So we have a nice Duplay booth. Carrie twisted my arm into making sure we get a 2-level Duplay suite, in the Julius Tower with a pool table and whatnot. We have a lot of fun happening at our suite. We have
Really? You guys having fun? I just don't even know if I believe that.
Yeah. we have a World Whiskey Wonderland experience on Tuesday after y'all's event. So it's not a clash. It starts at about later in the evening, where we're going to have Indian, Taiwanese, Scotch, and American single malts. And we're going to have Somalia, who's going to actually explain different Somalias from each part of those worlds, explain the whiskeys to you. There will be a spittoon, so you're not drinking all of it. And it'll be an experiential event. We also have an event the next day called Get Fat with Hat. Get Fat with Hat is a dining series that I do at every of these events. I've done it in Istanbul, I've done it in Miami, I've done it at Barcelona, where a select group of people come together and we go out to discover a local eatery. We have the chef come out, talk. There's a wine pairing. Rolando, I like the surprise on your face. I'm not inviting you because you're too important. That's all. You're just too important, and you're never going to say yes. So, but yeah, that's all of that fun stuff is happening. We also have a pool challenge going on where Carrie's going to be playing pool with Mark Waldman against anyone who wants to take it up, and the loser basically downs a shot of tequila that will be sponsored by Kelly. That's about it from our side. I'm going to turn this over back to Heather and then Rolando, I guess.
Woohoo. Okay, well, that is so nice to get to know a little bit more about you, and hopefully our group of attendees have learned something about your company and about you. I can say to everyone, this is one fun fella, and a lot of the folks that work for him are really, really fun. So if nothing else, enjoy yourselves with him. And without further ado, let's bring on Rolando, and let's all give him thank you so much for coming and being our speaker. I'm so excited. So Rolando, one of the first things I like to know when I invite someone to be a speaker is to get to know you personally, because as a business person that's running a pretty big operation, we all can assume that you're a suit. Tell us a little bit about your journey into the cinema exhibition world.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And first of all, I'm not wearing a suit today, so hopefully,
right.
as you can see, I'm trying to wear the right colors. And let me just start out by saying that I'm really honored, to have been asked to be with all of you. I think that, much, and thank Hat, because I think Hat being the sponsor, and he's been a tremendous vendor partner with us, and all the great work that he's been doing for the Marcus Corporation. We're very, very grateful and appreciative, and he does incredible work with him and his team. So I want to thank him as well. But look, I would say to you, Hat, that I'm not that important. I'm actually just tied up with a bunch of meetings, all of next week. And I wish I could be tasting some of the local aspect. And hopefully I'll share that as you get to know Rolando a little bit better. But frankly, the most important people are actually all of you on this particular Zoom. And I congratulate all of you, because when you come together in Women in Exhibition, who would have thought about this, when I started, back in 1975, working in the theater industry, that we would have finally a tremendous recognition of powerful female leaders, getting involved in our industry, that is critical to the product that we serve. And so you're really the most important people, and I'm just honored to be here with you. So let me tell you a little bit about Rolando. As you can tell by the accent, was born in Cuba, So as I like to tell my friends, you can't send me back because I am a U.S. citizen now. So I'm good to stay in the U.S. Came to the U.S. when I was about 11 years old. And one brother, he speaks perfect English, and I've never lost my accent. So for some reason, I was probably the slow student of the two. And here I am. And so that keeps me a little unique. Rolando, which is kind of hard to pronounce in most cases, especially since I grew up in the Midwest. And so growing up in the Midwest, Rolando was not necessarily a common name. Have been in really incredible journeys because this is why this program is so important to me. I have an amazing spouse that I've been married to for 36 years, and we've actually been together for 40. And she's the love of my life and probably my best half. I also will share with all of you that I have 4 incredible daughters, which, by the way, that means that I have very little say-so in my home on everything that comes to decision making, and rightfully so. In fact, if you look at the statistics, in most cases, 86% of the decisions being made are typically by female leaders or the females in the households, which is really why it's so important that you're finally getting the recognition that all of you really deserve, especially when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so you're looking at somebody that's a big believer. The fact that I have 4 daughters that I'd love for all of them to be president of the United States. And by the way, they probably would do better than the last few presidents that we've had. And so very engaged about their careers and their personal life and how they're moving along, and very excited to see the opening of doors and the recognition that gender diversity can mean to organizations, and the needed diversity that that is a must within organizations. And I would tell you that, tying in the personal side, I am so grateful that I have amazing female leaders within our organization. And I know that many of you know many of them, whether it's Kim Lewick, that I'm sure is on, and she does a lot of work with your organization that I'm very pleased with, or Ann Stadler, Stacy Babel, Ann Stadler, who's our CMO, Stacy Babel, who's our VP of HR, Karen Gamreth, who's basically our controller. And, and I can also speak about Katie Falvey, our head of real estate. So as you can see, the reason for my success on a personal and professional basis here, Marcus, is because I'm surrounded by brilliant women that are helping me lead the business. So I'm very excited about being here and look forward to answering any of your questions along the way.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Well, so when you were first stepping into our world, what business were you in before you came to exhibition, and how did it prep you for this crazy interactive world? And of course, I want to get to your role today, but where were you at before you got to exhibition, and how has it helped you now?
It's a great story. Started when I was 15 years old, tearing tickets at the Embassy 2 theaters in Kansas City, Missouri. And Stan Durwood, who was basically the patriarch of AMC theaters, that was his favorite theater. Would come in every day, and got to know him very well. And as I was graduating from high school, I was going to go for an engineer degree. And as it turns out, they kept promoting me, and I became an assistant manager. And I thought, wow, I really like dealing with people. And therefore, I changed my major to business. And so it's been an incredible journey. And I spent 30 years with AMC Theaters, which was fantastic. And then I deviated from our industry for a while. I spent almost 5 years with Walmart. And then I got rehired back into the industry by private equity, who brought me back. Many of you may remember Rave Cinemas, that was based out of Dallas. And so I was the CEO of Rave Cinemas up until the point that we sold it, typical private equity. And I was very fortunate to get an opportunity at the time. My predecessor was retiring from Marcus. And Steve Marcus and Greg Marcus, as we met and engaged with one another, came to an understanding and felt that this was going to be a great move. And by the way, for a guy that's very summer oriented and warm weather, I have to tell you, I live in Milwaukee, and I just crossed my 8th year. So I I will tell you that it's been a great ride and continue to enjoy being in Milwaukee and the great people that I work with. So that's a little bit of my journey, Heather, along the way.
And the reason I like to ask those questions, because a lot of times people where they've come from, like even particularly taking the leave and going to Walmart, gives you some different perspective that helps when you're running such a massive organization. And since we have such a diverse group of people, I always look for little pearls of wisdom that might help somebody glean a little bit from our guest speakers. Which does lead me to the next question. What is it like to run Marcus with so many different things that you're responsible for? Excuse me. Like you run such a big operation. Give us a little light on what that's like.
Well, thank you. And I'll certainly jump into that. But if you don't mind, I'll just take a second and kind of answer, because the deviation through Walmart kind of led to some of the things of why I enjoy working back within our industry and what we're doing. And stepping away sometimes from the industry that you've kind of grown up with, it gives you different perspectives. And then coming back from Walmart back into our industry, one of the things that we introduced at the time was our $5 Tuesdays. And I can assure you that that was a resounding success story, just because at that point in time, there was an economy downfall. There was an attendance downfall that was happening in our industry. And that $5 Tuesday resonated with a lot of the value consumers. And I share that because a lot of the feedback that we received back then were actually from moms and dads that couldn't afford to go to the movies, right? What a catastrophe for us that they couldn't attend going to the movies. And so a lot of the notes that we were receiving as a company was, thank you, I could finally take my family out on an outing. And that really came from Walmart thinking about the price value relationship and focused on where the customer is and understanding the value proposition on how to reach different audiences. And when you think about our industry, the goodness about our industry is that we cater to general audiences. We cater to everybody. Right. And so that was great. When I joined Marcus and working for the Marcus Corporation, thinking back in my career, I've worked for private companies, right? AMC was a private company at one time. Then it became public. I went to work for the largest retailer in the world. Then I went to Rave Cinemas, which was basically private equity owned. And then now I'm in a hybrid situation. And I say a hybrid situation because we are a public company that is very much focused on family. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the leadership goes back 86 years. Think about this. Our company has been in existence for 86 years. It's gone through 3 generations of leadership, starting back with Ben Marcus, who started the company in 1935. And then Steve Marcus, who still remains the chairman of the entire corporation, because we are in the hotel business, we are in restaurants, and we're also in theaters, and we're the 4th largest theater operator in the US. And then that's been followed by Greg Marcus, who's the CEO of the entire corporation. I'm the chairman, president, and CEO of Marcus Theaters. And obviously, for me, it's balancing the fact that we're a public company, respecting incredible value systems that our company has grown up with and disciplines associated with that. And obviously, looking at what the directions and philosophies are from incredible entrepreneurs that built the company over 86 years. And so I take that as a great learning and process that I work with on a daily basis, coupled with the fact that I'm also the chairman of the National Association of Theater Owners.
Yes.
And therefore, within that context, I'm trying to work with all of you, and in many cases, your leaders within the organization, so you yourself, or individuals within your company that participate in the NATO environment. And that's, as all of you know, has been very difficult, because for me, it's how do we work together, right? For the first time that I can think of as an industry, as competitors, and I heard some of you talking about before we got started, we are competitors, but we've had to come together and recognize that the survival of this industry is predicated on the survival of all of us, right? Yeah. This industry will not survive if it's just Marcus Corporation that survives. Yeah. This industry survives where large companies, mid-sized companies, small entrepreneurs, if they also survive, That's the key. And so that's where the role of NATO has been very focused on. How do we, and by the way, I get to work with an incredible board of directors. John Fithian does an amazing job, but Jackie and Esther are just, superstars, and Kathy. And then, by the way, I have a vice chair and Bob Bagby that does an awesome work as well, representing the rest of the groups. So you need to understand that we're surrounded with a great group of people that are focused on ensuring that the entire industry survives. And that's a balance I got to keep on. How do we focus on the industry and the survival of the industry, which means how do we work in our lobbying efforts with Washington, D.C. to ensure that the proper funding gets to the smaller and mid-sized operators? How do we work with state and local municipalities? And how do we ensure that we're working with the film companies with all the changes that are happening with our business models to ensure the survival of our industry? And by the way, keeping an eye to ensure that Marcus Corporation remains successful. So you know what? The way I would finally answer that, Heather, is that it's a lot of fun. And I mean that because I'm the type of person that enjoys, seeing the challenges and trying to figure out the Rubik's Cube on how do we fix things.
So that leads me to the next question. That's probably could be a little sensitive.
Hey, Heather, sorry, just 1 second. I'm going to have to apologize. I need to head to the airport.
Okay,
so
sweetheart.
thank you guys very much. And this has been a pleasure. Rolando, I hope to see you next week.
See you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hat. Take care.
Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so now that the tough questions, as we all know, the big looming thing over our heads is what's going on with the distribution of the movies going day and date. How is Marcus looking at this, and how is NATO dealing with this? If you don't mind sharing a little bit.
Look, I think the day and date situation, we've all had to adjust our own business models, right? I mean, if you think at the theaters, let's start with ourselves, and then I'll kind of roll into the film companies and some of their thinkings at this point. We adjusted our models. In some cases, we opened our theaters, partially our theaters, right? We didn't open all of our theaters in some cases. Yep. In some cases, we opened up with limited hours. We opened up with limited days. Mm-hmm. We focused on library films, right? We focused on how do we take care of the customer in what I would consider a touchless and almost less contact situation, that we had to become innovative and creative on how do we obviously operate our business. And I think that the film companies, to in their defense, also had to recognize how do they adjust their business model through a time period where, as you look at a global environment of film distribution, right, where most of Europe would be closed, or the fact that New York or California would be closed. And so, believe me, we're always striving to represent exhibition, but at the same time, if we're good partners, both the film companies need to recognize our challenges, we need to recognize their challenges. Yeah. And so I would say that through the course of that, Heather, there's been some adjustments. And in some cases, the way that they could put some of that film product was automatically selling it in some cases simultaneously with streaming, or being able to monetize it that way. Do I think that that's the best long-term model? The answer to that is no. I think that we offer a unique channel that really is kind of a launching pad to what I would call a dynamic distribution element, right? We think about it as just windows, meaning theaters and streaming. It's not just theaters and streaming. It's theaters and paid video on demand. It's about the digital pay on demand. It's about how do you eventually get it on disc, right? I mean, so there are multiple distribution channels and windows associated with that make the life cycle of that product a lot more beneficial and financially productive in an open and vibrant environment. The challenge we're all facing right now, and continue to do so, is that we're now dealing with the COVID variant, right? And so this Delta variant puts a lot of continuous questions about how do we get behind this. And I know that all of us are encouraging people to get vaccinated, to obviously participate in getting this behind us. And as we continue to get behind us, here's the good news. This past weekend, Free Guy, I congratulate Disney when they deserve it. They deserve congratulations. They
Mhm.
released that movie with a window and it did, $28.4 million. By the way, under a variant environment. And
Yeah.
by the way, families got out to see it. So a long way of answering that, we're dealing with a hybrid environment right now and model that I don't believe will be the long term of where we end up. And so those discussions continue with our film partners. I think they recognize the value of the theatrical experience. And I hope and pray that we get this behind us very quickly so we get back to a more traditional type of an environment.
Okay. So there's a couple more questions before I open it up to the group. I'd like to learn a little bit about the Dan E. Fellman Award that you have been honored with Show East. And tell everybody a little bit about Dan, because if you haven't met him, you talk about a showman, crazy. But tell us a little bit about him and the award, and then I'll have one more question before we open to our amazing audience.
Well, first of all, as honored as I am of being with all of you, I'm equally as honored, about being recognized with the Dan Fellman Award and Show East. And frankly, I think it's going to be an exciting show that we should also try to support and participate. I think the more that we can get out and be together and reconnect within our industry, with the vendor community, with the film community, and obviously with all of us in exhibition, I think it's good for the industry as a whole. I can't tell you how honored. Yes, I know Danny Feldman well, and I would tell you that he's the ultimate showman and the ultimate business person. And I call him a quiet lion because you could meet with Danny, and he's certainly a super bright individual, very soft spoken at times, and certainly doesn't mean that he wouldn't get passionate about topics, but he would just certainly cut through a knife, depending even if it was the soft spokenness. But to your point, Heather, the ultimate showman, the ultimate believer in our industry, an incredible leader, in both on a personal and professional basis. So being recognized, with that honor and trying to really walk in his shoes with his history and level of involvement in the industry, it's really a tremendous honor.
Well, I hope to be able to be there too and observe that. And so the last question I'm going to ask you, of course, is back to the personal thing and about your role that you walk the walk and talk the talk or talk the talk and walk the walk, with your role with helping the disenfranchised and what you do with the Variety Children's Charity. Are you still actively involved in doing the great stuff that I've seen?
We are. And look, I think, I think the way I would answer that is I am extremely passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'll take a few minutes to speak about that. My belief on diversity, equity, and inclusion is that we as a country, as a company, as an industry, if we focus more on the I, we wouldn't need the D and E.
Right.
Because I would means that we're inclusive, right? And if we're inclusive, then we wouldn't have to talk about diversity and equity. We would just automatically understand that inclusiveness is a must. And so within that context, how do we include the underserved communities, right? And so my work through the course of really started to get very passionate about that back with Walmart, because at Walmart, we used to speak about our customer as she, number one, because that was the major decision making. And number two, our major focus and mission was associated with the underserved communities. How do we offer a price value relationship that connected with the underserved communities? And underserved communities are everywhere. That's not just, color driven. That could be African American, that could be Asian, that could be Hispanic, that could be Caucasian, And so within that context of inclusion, whether it's variety and my passion for children, I have one of my daughters is a special needs woman now, frankly, and she's the love of my life. She's my spark that keeps me going. And so there's diversity of individuals that, have special needs that's associated with that. And so Variety does incredible work with children, work. And so my involvement with that, with the Children's Hospital Wisconsin and sitting on their board, And frankly, something that I'm very proud is that I also chair the Hispanic Collaborative here in Milwaukee. And really, it's about how do we bring communities to better understand the differences that we all show, whether it's in gender or whether it's in color, right? Here's one for all of you. Ann Stadler and the rest of our team, Stacy Babel, are doing incredible work right now preparing for, guess what happens September 15th through October 15th? Anybody?
I don't know.
Oh my God, Hispanic Heritage Month. So there we go, right?
Yeah.
And so here's the deal. We as an industry, how do we help each other, right? Because it's about women, it's about understanding differences, it's about, you know, whether we celebrate Black History Month, right? Whether we celebrate women in the workplace, all of those are important. And I think that's what I mean about inclusiveness. And then how do we, as leaders, set the plate, set the expectations, provide knowledge, include people in the understanding, so we can become a better society. And that may seem hokey in nature, but I'm also very proud of the work that Chris Johnson is doing in leading the strategic efforts in NATO. And several years ago, we introduced diversity, equity, and inclusion as a strategy for NATO. Think about this. And guess what? There's going to be not only you guys that will be speaking at NATO, but there's also a session on diversity, equity, and inclusion that's also going to take place at NATO. Those things are at CinemaCon. Those things would normally not happen in our industry, right? Yeah. And so it's baby steps that hopefully lead to walking faster, to running, to eventually get to a place that we recognize the importance of inclusion.
I absolutely love that. And thank you for letting us know about the Hispanic Heritage Group month. I will make sure I make a note of that. And one last thing that I've been asked a lot, because as you know, I'm come from sales, so I'm always having a conversation with people that want to know how they can reach cinemas. What's your take on NFTs, and does it have a place in the cinema world? And what about esports? Those are two topics that I'm kind of on the fringe right now as well. So do you have any insight for us on how you feel about that for our industry?
I feel that both of those will play a role in my mind. I think that, look, our industry right now, here's the great unknown. The great unknown is, will our industry come back to 2019 numbers, right?
Yeah.
And then you hear the different projections from everybody. Will it be 10% down? Will it be 5% down? Will it be 20% down? Nobody knows that answer. My hope, my aspiration, and I'm one of those individuals that the glass is always half full, is that we get back to 2019 numbers. And that's what should be what we're all aspiring to get ourselves back to. But here's why those things are important, Heather, because those will be the ones that fill the gaps. Right. And we need to figure out not only how do we fill those gaps, and the worst case scenario that, as I share with our team, and Clint Wlosowski that leads our effort in this area, and you know him well,
I do.
Heather, is that we're going to need those, because even if we get back to 2019 numbers, the worst case scenario, we're now doing 120% of 2019 numbers. Well, guess what? We'll take that. The last time I checked, we'll all take that. And so filling those gaps, or preparing to fill those gaps, or basically outperform what we used to be in 2019, anything within that realm, I think will have a place into how we get there.
I love it. Well, that leaves me the perfect opportunity to work through the room. So everyone here, I'm going to get through you. I'm going to ask you to say your name, what you do, or the company you work with, and let's move on as quickly as I can. If you have a question for Rolando, please ask. And then, of course, I'll let Rolando know, anybody in the chat, put your contact. And if there's a need to communicate with everyone, that is what the major role of Women in Exhibition is and can do. So without further ado, Kelly, Mama T. I'm going to go pretty quickly, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, then I'll do it as quickly as possible because I'm kind of long-winded. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that everyone was super excited to have you as one of our virtual speakers. And what I like to do with our speakers is do a selfie or a selfie, as the Rebecca Polly, wonderful Rebecca Polly has tagged it. And so if it would be okay with you, I'd like, but I wasn't going to do it because I was going to do it in real life at CinemaCon next week. Yay! But there are some of us, unfortunately, that can't join us. So again, just to tell you how to do it, pin Mr. Rodriguez, pin your picture. If you're using a Mac, do Command-Control-4, do a screenshot, and bam, there's your selfie.
Oh, wow. Now you're really confusing me.
That's okay.
Command, roll.
All at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Command
You're killing me.
I just use my phone.
And then you have to look up and you have to smile real big. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, smile. Look at me. Yay.
Fabulous.
So again, I won't, looking forward to seeing you. Thank you, and thank you. And by the way, I own Cinema Pro. I am the founder and CEO of Cinema Pro. We do whatever you need for your movie theaters. I'll be talking to you about that. And I'm also, but most importantly, I am the Director of Membership Services for Women in Exhibition. Yay!
All right.
If you're not a member, join us. If you have any questions, reach out. I'm more than happy to help out. And
Well,
All right.
Thank you, Kelly. I just need your energy and whatever, that's what happens. Did you have bourbon this morning? I just want to know.
I usually wait until afternoon. I am East Coast, so I'm a little, well, yeah, I guess it is afternoon. That'll be our secret, okay?
I love the energy. I love the energy. Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you.
Rebecca Giudice, girlfriend, go.
Hey there. So Rebecca Giudice, I work for Deep Blue Communications. We're actually a Comcast business company. We are Comcast Business's Wi-Fi Excellence Center. So I've been doing wireless for 10 years in the entertainment business, and I am just keeping a hold of the theater business just because I am watching what technology is doing and changing. And if there's any way that we could be a small part of anybody's success story, that, that would be near and dear to my heart.
That's awesome, Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely.
And are you not going to CinemaCon, are you? Nope. Okay, we won't see her there. Next
We'll
up
miss you.
is Kristen. Kristen's unmute, sweetie.
Yep. I am Kristen Speakman. I am with Larry H. Miller Megaplex Theaters. I am the EA to Blake Anderson, which, as we talk about networking, Rolando and Marcus Theaters have so graciously allowed networking with the Larry H. Miller Theaters, and we are one of those that took his $5 Tuesday advice and ran with it. And I thank you, Rolando, for sharing that advice with Blake.
Awesome.
Well, Kristen, thank you. And by the way, I think the world of you guys. And by the way, if you haven't seen the Megaplex Theaters, they are absolutely awesome. And please say hello to Blake for me.
Will do.
Next up is my chica, my sister from another mister, Maria Melbacha.
Hola.
Hola.
Hola, Rolando. I'm Maria Melbacha. I'm from Argentina. But I worked in cinemas for like 24 years all around the world. I'm back in Argentina and I'm collaborating with the Box Office Pro. And today we are doing at 3 o'clock Argentina time, 1 o'clock Mexico time. We're doing our first webinar in Spanish about digital marketing in cinema business. So
Claro que sí, claro que sí.
Los esperamos, por favor.
María, tenemos que hablar solo en español, así no nos entienden.
Olvídese de toda esta gente. Yo le puedo decir Rolando como tiene que ser.
There you go. I hope you know that she's the one that got my name correctly. Rolando. Ahí estamos.
Muchas gracias, un gusto.
Mucho gusto.
We have V. Unmute, baby. Are you still there? Okay, I'll come back to you. Rebecca.
Rolando, did I get that one?
Ah, there we go. There we go. Roll that R.
Rolando Rodriguez. I'm just So excited to see you at CinemaCon. I know you're speaking at the HR and D&I panel that I'm moderating on Tuesday morning, so I'm super pumped for that. I won't take up anybody else's time, but yeah, just super excited to see you at CinemaCon.
You know, I just can't tell you how important that is, and I think we need to encourage everybody to ensure that they participate on that panel and they join that discussion. It's so important for our industry that we recognize the importance. And by the way, when I say the importance, people are forgetting that if you look at the past couple of movies, over 50% of the attendance that's coming through the door is gender diversity, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, anywhere between 50 and 60% is ethnic diversity. So if you combine those two and you're trying to get our industry back to 2019 numbers, not only is it Hollywood that's making the movies representing those different, segments of the population, but it's also important for us that we represent those different segments of the population, not only in leadership, but in communicating the importance and communicating to those communities.
Excellent.
That panel, it's early in the morning. I know it's Tuesday at 7:45, rebuilding and diversifying the post-COVID workforce. I know it's in the morning, but you can just bring your coffee and keep chugging throughout. So
we'll keep you awake.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, Mr. Jim Cook. So Jim Rolando has been one of our great members of WIE since the very beginning, and we've enjoyed him. He always has something great to say. So Jim, please introduce yourself.
Good morning from Canada on the West Coast. Nice to meet you, Rolando.
Good.
I'm the VP of Business Development for NGC Constructors. We specialize in cinema construction and also with Fresh Strategies, where we focus on new concepts, and the evolution of cinema. And so we've had the opportunity to partially work with you a little bit on your Tacoma build that unfortunately got pushed aside, but things change. And so we look forward to potentially working with you in the future.
Well, I certainly look forward to that. I wish that would have come to fruition. Unfortunately, as we have all faced the challenges with this COVID situation. But you know what? The key is we're all moving forward. We're regrouping. Absolutely. And there'll be a lot more opportunities down the line. And we look forward to spending time with you, Jim. Thank you.
I was hoping to see you at CinemaCon, but we unfortunately are unable to make it due to some things happening in the world, as we all know about. So look forward to seeing you all at the next trade show.
Great. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, next up is the, wow, how do I even introduce Carrie D? I'm just going to say, Carrie, come on down, girl.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me here. I've worked on the rolling R's, but I'm not going to attempt it right now. So I'm going to call you Mr. Rodriguez. Well, thank you for being here today. And one of my questions I was going to ask you is about your give back efforts. So just a funny story. I was totally tickled by your Dancing with the Stars participation. And I'm not sure when that was, maybe Shoei's 2 years ago. But maybe you could talk a little bit about that. I know you have a lot of charities that are close to your heart, but additionally, I have joined Influx over the last year and a half, I guess. And so we really appreciate the partnership with Marcus, and I know Hat works so well with Kim and Brett and Nan. And so it's just really cool to see that great vendor relationship. So we really appreciate that as well.
Well, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate it as well. Look, I think that the Dancing with the Stars, it was a lot of fun. It was actually November of 2019. And that was for a local school that we're very proud of. It's called Crystal Ray. And interestingly enough, Crystal Ray raised about $600,000 with that function. And what they do well, this is a school work program. So these kids actually these are kids that are basically in middle and high school, and they come and work for part of the week in our office. And so they do this intern, and basically the payment that we give is really to the school to fund this special education that they're getting. And the success story of that school, which we're very proud of, is like 98% of the kids go off to college once they graduate from high school. So it's an incredible program of kind of supporting an underserved community with an incredible educational program. And so I didn't mind getting out there. And by the way, I really had to sharpen up my skills, and thank God I was with a great dancer, but we had a lot of fun and we raised a lot of money and for a good cause.
Awesome.
That's a great story. Thank you.
Okay, Heidi, are you still there, sweetheart? You're not in your desk. I'll come back to you. Okay, we'll go back to Heidi. We're going to drop down to Digger. Hop on unmute, sweetheart.
Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Thank you for all
Hi.
that information. That was great, Rolando. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
a writer, director, producer. I'm an artist. I'm an inventor. I've had a few different companies. I've been in multiple industries, all of them entertainment related. I have a new company right now called Reveal Technology. We are the first authentication system, enhanced authentication system for NFTs. We are, I put the website in the box. It's Reveal, REV3AL.io. If you'd like more information, I also simultaneously teamed up with a company in Tennessee that does technology and display work, and they work for the military. They're an amazing company called Eon Digital. We're developing I call it the Holo Curve. It's a giant three-dimensional holographic display that's affordable, that can be used as a holographic advertising vehicle for anything, product, anything advertising-wise that the theaters are involved with. It can be used at concert venues, Walmart, Target, you name it. But really, theater was where my mind was set in terms of trying to get people back out of the house. NFTs are everywhere right now, and crypto is, about to be accepted at AMC. So I see all these things converging at the same time, and I really see box office as the place that I want to start with the Holo Curve. We have prototypes that are going to be finished in like 2 months. I have 3D animations. I'd love to share all that with you and get your opinion. I think we have something sort of life-changing for the industry, and it's layered. It feels like there's more moving parts than there are, but I think it'll really bring about change in terms of how people go to the movies.
That's fantastic, Digger. And I would also tell you that we're certainly interested in looking at all these opportunities. That's why, frankly, as of today, we actually officially, Heather, just so you know, it's not out there publicly yet, but now it is. Clint Wislowski, we made him kind of our business development officer for the company.
Okay.
And for that specific reason, because we, as I stated earlier, we're looking for how to fill those gaps and opportunities, and whether that's in the digital space, as Digger just talked about, or the advertising space, and how all those connect together. Believe me, we're looking at all of these opportunities, no different than just about every exhibitor is on this call. So we look forward to seeing it.
Excellent. I'll make sure that all these contacts are made. Digger, I'm going to go ahead and move through and let you connect later so I can move through the room.
That's great. No worries.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
Hop
Rolando.
down to, of course, we all know Kim Luck because she's our, awesome board member. So Kim, hop on and unmute yourself, sweetheart.
Hey there, I don't want to interrupt. I mean, I get to speak with Rolando all the time, but I was excited. Thank you, Rolando, because it means a lot to have you on this call and allow people to have access to you and your thoughts. And these are so beneficial. But thank you, and thank you, Heather.
Okay, cool. Next up, Michael Cummings. Unmute there, sir.
Hello, everyone. Well, I'm Michael Cummings, Senior Principal at TK Architects International. I know you regularly interact with one of my partners, Teresa. I see you in the corner. Thanks for joining, Rolando. I want to say I'm a fan and a supporter of movies, movie going, exhibition, and the Marcus organization. It's really a pleasure to work with such great, nice people. It makes things a lot better. Rolando challenges us from time to time, but he's always nice about it. And so that's appreciated very much. Interesting story. I think we met more years ago than either one of us will admit publicly. at the Empire Theater at
Yep.
14th and Main Street.
Yep.
When we were both starting our young careers in this exhibition business. So again, thank you for joining and supporting.
Well, thank you, Michael. And by the way, I should obviously thank Kim, because it's great that I have her leading our information technology, and she keeps us in order and enabled us. And so I'm very proud of her as one of our key leaders in the organization. And you, Michael, I appreciate all the work that you've done for our company and continue to do. And oh my God, you just brought back memories of the Empire Theater. I feel like I can't even remember. I must be getting old. You're still young, but I'm getting old, Mike. But I appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Looks like Michelle is playing Ghost. We're going to skip her and go on to Jessica Benson Roberts.
Hi, Rolando. Nice to see you.
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
Jessica. I'm the VP of Exhibitor Relations at Screen Vision Media, and I have the pleasure of being the day-to-day contact for Marcus Theaters. So I get to work with your amazing team, and thank you for everything. And I'll see you at CinemaCon and whoever else is
Absolutely.
there.
And thank you for what you guys do, and certainly say hello to the whole team out there. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Will do.
All right, next up is Mary. She's our social media guru.
Hi, Rolando. Nice to meet you. So in
Hi.
addition to WIE Social, I also do social media for Sarasota Showplace Theaters. And I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. And I'm sure I'll meet you at CinemaCon next week.
I look forward to it. And I love Tony. In fact, I just spoke to Tony last week. So good
You
man.
did, yeah.
Good
He's
man.
great.
Okay, now this Teresa English. I'm just not sure about this girl. She's kind of crazy. Come on down, Teresa.
Well, I want to second everything Mike said. We enjoy working with Marcus, and we know that you're a big part of our team here. And so just thank you for all the support that you've given us.
I appreciate it, Teresa. And thank you for what you guys do. Really appreciate it.
Come on, not some crazy question, Teresa. Don't let us down. She usually has the greatest questions for her.
Mike
Okay,
has been the only one that told me that I'm challenging at times. See?
Okay, next up
Challenging is
is
fine. I don't have any problems with challenging. Love it.
You're also a good negotiator.
Oh, okay. That's a good one to know.
Good.
Marie Zablocki.
Hi there. So thank you, Marie Zablocki. I'm VP of Workforce Management for Cinemark. I've been here about 2 years, so almost my entire exhibition experience is COVID. So I am excited to look forward and get to meet others in the industry. I won't be at CinemaCon, but Rolando, thank you very much for all your insight and getting to learn more about you. That was great and nice to see everybody.
Well, thank you, Marie. And by the way, you guys have an awesome team. Leroy Mitchell is awesome. He's, known him for many years. And then Mark is a terrific, terrific leader. And certainly, I don't know if you know the history, but when I talked about Rave Cinemas, Mark Zorati used to be on our board of directors.
Oh, there you
prior
go.
to Cinemark. So Mark and I go way back. He's a good
That's
man.
great.
He's a good man.
All righty. Next up is Kumari.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. Your talk was really amazing. I work for Morning Person Pictures, a small distributor, and I have two questions for you. One is, was there anything unexpected that you learned from COVID? And the other is long term, in 10 or 20 years, what's the Marcus experience? What do you see as being different from today? Thanks.
Well, those are two very good questions. I think the first one that I shared with people that I learned from the COVID experience is that leaders really got tested, meaning it was an incredible testing period for leaders to really show what their capabilities were. And people either rose to the occasion or really showed their, some of the challenges and opportunities that they had. But the most, impactful, I thought, was incredible to see the resiliency and the passion and the commitment that we have in our associates and leaders across the industry, by the way, and even within our own company, that overcame all the hurdles that were being thrown our way. But the final item that I would say that I learned and really took me to task personally was it showed me how much I really cannot take for granted friends, family, and associates. Because this 2D stuff, while it may seem technology savvy and all great, there's nothing that replaces us in being in 3D and seeing people. And so what I used to take for granted as a meeting or a lunch or a breakfast meeting with somebody, I can assure you that I'm much more in tune on making sure that I truly appreciate and enjoy that time with those individuals, especially when we went through that lockdown period. And then finally, what I would say, what do I see in the industry? God, 20 years from now, I wish I could tell you, Kamari, what that would look like. But I will tell you this. I think that the one thing that we continue to offer as an industry that cannot be replicated at the home theater, right? And that is what we're doing right now. It's a social experience. That cannot be duplicated, and especially when you're live. And so that may sound hokey in nature, but the reality is that when we enjoy that artistic film on the screen and we're sharing that experience with other people and we're laughing together, crying together, and we come out of it, that's an experience, and we offer a tremendous price value relationship. Will technology change? Absolutely. Will the way that we send the film and how it communicates and the sound systems and what that auditorium looks like, that will change. How we show possibly sporting events or esports or whatever that become, those may become different uses along with the food and beverage. But look, this industry's been around for a long time, and the survival of that industry has always been predicated on the fact that we're that social experience. My biggest concern with it, frankly, is Generation X and Generation Z. And the question for us, right, as leaders within this industry is how do we make sure that we engage those future consumers that will give us that answer 10, 15, and 20 years from now, right? Because I'm a moviegoer. I've been a moviegoer all my life. The question is, how do I get that young generation that's used to watching content on their iPhone, right? And that's really the opportunity that we all need to think about. And how do we convert them into our great industry?
Thank you so much.
Wow, that was so awesome. Okay, next up we have Shelley Goodall. Or Goodall?
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelley Goodell. I'm the Vice President of E-commerce and Guest Services for Megaplex Theaters, excuse me. And Rolando, you're the reason that I'm here today, because when you instituted the new DI program for NATO, that's where I got, after a decade of being in this industry, my first invitation to be on the NATO calls and to be a participant. And that led me to WIE. So your doing that made a huge difference. I'd been in this industry almost a decade before I'd even been introduced to NATO. And I really hope in the future Megaplex will have representation that is a little bit more diverse at CinemaCon so that we can have representation. I'm not quite sure what our current complement looks like that's attending, but I hope in the future we can be a part of that in a larger way. So thank you for that.
You know, Shelley, that's such a thank you, number one, and congratulations, because it's so important that the diversity of representation by us, and it's something that John Fithian and I spent a great deal of time. And as you know, Esther plays a big role in NATO in trying to drive those efforts. But we got to do a lot more. We've started that journey, but we have a long ways to go. And I will tell you that you guys are making a difference, right? Because when I got the note from Kim and said, hey, we're going to have a presentation and, there's need for a sponsorship to ensure, we were in right off the bat. But more importantly, just so you know that from that, Heather, I made a phone call to John Fithian and said, WIE's going to be there and they need to have their own meetings and representation in what we're doing. And so that's how we help each other to ensure that we are being more inclusive and obviously set the path for more leadership, in particular women, representing, key spots within our industry.
Oh, that's so awesome. See, we need people looking out for us because we are 50% of the population.
You are. You are. And you're, by the way, you're outliving the male portions like me. So
that's true.
that percentage is going to continue to grow.
All right, next up is the incomparable Clint Wisiowski. Unmute. There you go.
Rolando, it was a great presentation. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I even got my name mentioned. I'm making it big time. So thank you. This was awesome. And it's great to see all of these incredible people on this call. I know so many of you, and I appreciate all of you. And the ones that I don't, I hope I will soon. So I appreciate it. Heather, great job as always, my friend. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
See, this is awesome because number one, now you got to see the person all of you need to reach out to for all these new programs right there. And by the way, Clint and I dressed alike today. I don't know if you guys picked up on this. We're both wearing pink golf shirts.
There you
go.
So,
we felt that we shared the memo together.
Make sure you put your contact in the chat there, Clint. Okay, next up is Stacy Babel. Stacy, I love that he said such great things about you.
Yeah. Hi, Stacy Babel, Vice President of HR. I think what I really just want to say is, Rolando talks a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the importance of inclusion. And it's not just talk. He's been a tremendous ally in my journey, in my career, and here at Marcus. So, yeah, it's wonderful working with him every day, and he truly believes in what he's saying and is willing to take that action. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Stacy.
Stacy, thank you.
All right, next up is Carol. There you go. Asked to unmute. I just muted you again. Sorry. Unmute.
Unmute.
There you go.
All right, we're good to go. Okay, I'm Carol Malik. I'm VP of IT Support Services with Regal, and I've had the pleasure of knowing Kim for over 20 years since we first met up at the Radiant Users Group. And I agree, she is an amazing woman and a great mentor for anybody also. But thanks for joining this. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody again at CinemaCon. It has been way too long, it seems. And we will be there. Actually, Regal will be there in full representation. We're having our GM conference. So you will see a bunch of Regal GMs there supporting the industry.
Oh, and if I could take a minute, Carol, first of all, thank you. And thank you and the entire Regal team and Mookie, because he's been committed from day one on CinemaCon. And I don't know if everybody knows this. Right now, we're estimating at this point in time that we will probably have about 2,000 participants, which is a pretty good showing, right? In a very difficult time period for CinemaCon. But a good portion of that is thanks to Regal. Regal is bringing somewhere around 500, general managers to the conference. And we can't thank you enough in your commitment to the industry and certainly to CinemaCon. So thank you. Thank you, Carol.
Well, I agree. You said it best when you said we're all in this together. And even though we are competitors, it's going to take all of us to make us all successful.
That's right.
Yeah, they're frenemies. Okay, next up is Brian Weiner, who's somebody I have had a relationship with for probably close to 30 years. So I love the fact that he's here and also has great technology. So Brian, please introduce yourself to our lovely group.
Hey all, and nice to meet you, Rolando. There's a comment that you made specifically a couple of minutes ago about addressing the younger generation on their phones, and that's probably where my company, the Illusion Factory, steps in. As Heather's mentioned, we've been promoting entertainment for all the studios and broadcasters and record labels and gaming and AR and VR for 43 years. And we've created a new platform, which is pull advertising instead of push. It's a complete reversal of all the methodologies to increase activation, engagement, build brand consumer loyalties. And we've been populating it with lots of different methodologies that are expected to drive consumers back into the cinema with opportunities that don't put heavy onerous responsibility on the theater chains or on the studios, but give consumers a delightful extra spiff or perk or benefit from coming into the theater. So I'm excited to come to CinemaCon and start talking with everybody about our Sizzle platform that's going to roll out in September of this year.
So make
You
sure
know,
have
Brian,
contact
that's real.
there. Yeah,
That's
sorry.
really interesting, Brian, and thank you for that. And I will tell you this, and this is for the whole group, take a minute on this. It's interesting because last week, a group of us from our company participated in this Kelly School of Management in Indiana, business management, and they worked on several projects for us. And we met with roughly about 600 MBA students in getting their opinions. And this is really some of the feedback that we received, in particular from the millennial group that had also done some focus groups with Generation X and Z, that the biggest concern they have, Ryan, is that they have to be away from their phone for 2 hours. Think about this, right? So interesting, because for most of us, we want to be 2 hours away where we don't have to deal with the phone and we can concentrate with what's going on the screen. Unfortunately, the new generations, that phone is like an extension of their arm. And the question will be is, how do we make sure that we can at least put that arm to rest for at least 2 hours to enjoy, the art form that we provide? And so it'll be an interesting dynamic. We certainly look forward to hearing what your product's all about.
Thank you. I think there's a lot of ways of taking that phone and making that the direct conduit above and beyond purchasing the tickets, but adding depth to the entertainment experience and a deeper inclusion for the consumer into the brands that they're supporting up on the big screen. So I think there's some big wins here.
Good. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, and I know we got to probably cruise through here because Rolando's time. Kirthina, I don't know how to say her name properly. Kirthina.
That's Kirthina. Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So I'm with Influx, Pat, Carrie, I work with them, and yeah, great to be here. Awesome group. Your early morning, my night here. I'm calling from India. So one of the questions that I have actually is in relation to the things that you spoke, which is I am a millennial myself. So, and it's been great because I love marketing. I love, the social media and everything. And, when I joined Influx, I was like, wow, this is the best of both worlds, because now I get to be in marketing, but for cinemas, which I also love. So one of the things is, how do you think that as a employee, like, taking a job, do you think cinemas has the attraction for, millennials and Gen Zs? And what's the advice that you would give the youngsters that is looking for a career in this industry?
Again, a great question. And that's the $24 million question for us right now. At one time, the majority of the folks that, like me, I just shared that I started when I was 15 tearing tickets, right? And the majority of the associate base that we developed, and in fact, many of the entrepreneurs and owners of theaters companies started right in the theater, and they grew up with the business. Well, that has changed over time, right? We got public companies, companies have been bought by private equity and sold by private equity. And therefore, there's been a changing of the guard. And one of our biggest challenges now is, how do we attract the millennials and then frankly the generations that follow, X and Z, to ensure that this is a fun environment. At one time, think about it. Oh my God, I get to work at the theaters when I started, and I'm going to get to watch free movies and this is going to be fun, and I'm dealing with people. And unfortunately, think about the habits of what's changing between millennials, X's and Z's, is that they don't communicate in a lot of ways. Hopefully I'm not insulting you, but it's not a question of you don't communicate. Your form of communication becomes the phone or the texting, right? And it's not necessarily the face-to-face. And so that social environment, we have to recreate on how does that mean, and how meaningful it can mean to create culture, especially in a time period that through COVID, most office environments have gone back to a hybrid of working from home, right? And somewhat showing up to the offices. So the advice that I actually have for us, even in our own company, is that we have to engage them early on. And obviously, how do we make sure that as they start, we're a great first job at 16 years old or 17. How do we make it fun and exciting to be part of this industry? And that's been difficult for us because last year, for the most part, we were shut down. Now that we're coming back, it's important to tout. And by the way, I hope that I can express this to all of you, the importance that we all play in promoting our industry and going back to the movies is huge. It's huge. And one of the concerns that I have right now is that we're probably the only industry that always talks about, oh my God, this audience is not showing back up to the movies yet, or this audience is not coming as much to the movies yet. But let's think about that for a second. The restaurant industry, the retail industry, not one of them is talking about the fact that families aren't coming back to them, right? They actually promote getting everybody back to, the restaurants and the retail. And in the restaurants, you spend a couple of hours, you're actually chatting. It's probably a lot less safe to be inside of a restaurant than it is in a theater, but yet we highlight it in articles and do analysis about it on people that aren't coming to the movies more often as they used to in 2018. That's a miss by us in my mind. I think we need to talk about the fun of going back to the movies, the safety and health protocols that we're taking, and that hopefully will also build some interest into the millennials and those other generations to get back to the fun of social environment. That's my hope.
That's great. Thank you.
You're amazing. We've got a couple more people that are going to hop on, and I know you've got to go, so I'll kind of push through these real quick. Dina, are you on? I know she's got a quick little schedule. I know I want to get everybody else on here. Dina, are you here? Okay, next up is Steffi Bao. Steffi, say hello to everyone. And y'all, I have a business relationship with this young lady, so she's a lot of fun.
Hi everyone, my name is Steffi. I'm originally from Italy, and I am a 3-time motocross champion and now involved with esports. So, my passion is motorsport and of course sim racing, and sim racing is like one of the most intuitive esport there is, and really looking forward to figure out ways how to bring that into the theaters, because we think that it makes a lot of sense. We can bring diversity and inclusion with that. It's open to everybody. People with disability can play on a sim, and it is super cool and super interesting. So learning a lot from all of you, and hopefully we cross path and we can make this happen.
Wow, you are awesome. Congratulations on your accomplishments. You're setting the bar for all of us. So fantastic.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Rolando. I know I have the rolling R as well because I'm Italian.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to hop down to, thank you, Steffi. Hop down to Teresa. Are you there, Teresa? Are you gone from your desk? Just her beautiful picture. Okay, I'm going to scoot over to Chris. And she might be way too. Okay, I'm just going to keep scrolling through. Matt Lee, are you there? Rob, are you there? Who's over there? What about Esther? I'm just going to keep moving. Kelly Bueller. A lot of people have stepped away. Let's keep going. Who do we have down here? Matt Lee. We have got Esther. Carl, do you want to hop on? Or Fred Carl? Nope. David, are you there? We're going to work our way through the group. Dina, are you there?
Hi.
There she is. All right.
Hi, Rolando. Pleasure to meet you. Oh my gosh, this has been so great. Thank you. And thank you, Heather, for all of this all the time. I just, I'm excited. We just kind of announced a new announcement with Howie Mandel today about Magic Screen and about bringing interactivity into the movie theaters, something that we're very excited about. And, kind of working with the theaters. My background is in creating entertainment content for theme parks last 25 years or so. And kind of, we're talking about how we take that live interactivity into movie theaters. And like you were talking about, bringing people back in, it's very exciting. We agree. It's a safe place, and it's something that everybody really wants to do. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Dina. I think that's awesome. And in particular, I think in a time period that, I think content is going to become very important, all types of different content. And the ability that we have, which we have fabulous auditoriums with great sound and capabilities, is how do we better utilize that for all types of different content to basically cater to a wider audience than we are right now. So what you're doing is fantastic, and we look forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to call one last person and then we'll kind of call this off since we were a little bit over past our schedule. Kim Cook, do you have a second to hop on and say hi? All right, there she goes.
Yes, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to follow Carrie and not try to roll that R because I sound really bad when I try to do it. But thank you for being here. I'm the Director of Food and Beverage with Galaxy Theaters and really appreciate your leadership with NATO over the past year. I can't imagine having been in your position, and love your comment about I being the most important of DE and I. From a selfish standpoint and from my side of the industry, you've talked a little bit about what we do going forward and multi-use of auditoriums and esports and things of that nature. Is there one F&B trend that you see? Because obviously there's multiple versions of what theaters do with F&B, right? Is there something that you see that's other than popcorn that obviously will always be there that we all should be focusing on or looking at, or an opportunity out there?
You know, I first of all, thank you, Kim, and I appreciate everything you guys are doing out there. You know, it's an interesting study. One of the things that I try to do, and I was doing prior to COVID taking place, is I would always attend the Restaurant Leadership Conference. And if you want to be in food and beverage, right, which I think we as an industry have evolved into just beyond the popcorn, right, and beyond the hot dog. And I know Rob Novak, who's our VP and head of food and beverage, does an incredible job in this area. We think about what is it that the consumer trends are and what is it that they're going after. And as we studied this, there's three what I would call food categories that are essential now for theaters and that work extremely well in the marketplace. And I would say one is obviously the smash burger concept, pizza, and chicken. And when you think about those three, and even chicken wings, as you know, there's a huge shortage in the US at this point in time. But when you think about those three, there's definitely embellishment around those. I mean, there's obviously salads depending on the layout of your theater and some of those other elements. You know, desserts are becoming fairly attractive, you know, to consumers as well. But when we think about the focus groups that we need to really, you know, execute well, is probably in those three categories: the smash burger, the pizza, and the chicken. And those three actually probably handle about 70 to 75% of your product offerings. So if you execute those well, at least what we're finding out, and we spend a lot of time on this, I think you'll see some benefits associated.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that insight.
Oh my goodness. Well, Rolando, we have definitely run the calendar a little bit, but I hope that it's not too hard on your calendar.
No.
From the bottom, I think I would speak for all of us. This was so engaging. I've got so many texts on the side, people just raving about you and how awesome and your insight. I mean, it's like I'm answering texts on the side. So I look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you to all the lovely WIE guests. I look forward to seeing all of you guys, whoever's going to show up at CinemaCon. And I'll hug you if you let me.
Absolutely. And thank you, Heather. And thank you, everyone, for your patience and certainly your questions. Good luck. Big believer in WIE. You guys keep going, keep growing, and keep building. We need you. Okay.
All right.
Have a great day,
Can't wait
everybody.
to see you at CinemaCon.
Yes, everybody put your
Bye.
name in the chat if you want to connect, and I'll do my best to share everything with everyone. This is recorded, so I'll be sharing that. Okay, there all the comments are coming in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, Kim.
And gentlemen.
Bye. Oh, Carrie.
So Carrie, I can't wait.